everybody, you're listening to episode 234 of Tech Fetish. I am your host, Elena Yee, and here with me today are Justin Davis.
Hello.
Alex Roth.
That's me.
And Mark Ryan Salig.
That's him. Wait, no, that's me.
That's you.
I'm so lost already.
You both have
Comedy
beards.
sketch.
Since you both have beards, do you confuse yourself with each other?
We sometimes get stuck together when we get close to each other.
That's true. Velcro face.
Yeah,
I'm surprised you guys haven't gotten sick. The entire office has been felled by disease.
that's right. You're better. You're better now, though, right?
You were probably patient zero because now you're feeling all right and the whole office is out sick.
I did note on Twitter that I thought I could become patient zero again. I did warn everybody. You saw the warning.
But that warning means nothing. Hey, just a warning. I might be infecting you all right now.
Oop.
I thought it would be the polite thing to do.
No, they didn't get sick because their beards filtered it out. Science.
That's right.
Oh.
That's right.
Well, I just figured they're that close that their beards stick together. There's a possibility for transmission.
I just think it must be confusing if you say, wait, am I Alex Roth or am I Mark Ryan? Both those guys have beards and I have a beard. Which one am I?
Both those guys. So I'm another person right now.
Whatever. I don't know.
What?
I just want to know what it's like to have a beard.
What do you?
Do you not grow one?
And I don't grow one. I can't grow one. It's
You
not that
could.
I don't grow one. I'm incapable of growing one.
I bet you could.
Much to my no. You don't trust me. I tried it over Christmas break. It's not even. There's not even like an awkward patchy phase to get through. I just can't do it.
How hard did you try? Did you like really concentrate?
Yeah.
How long?
Did you go to like
Concentrate?
Did you go to a planet with less gravity and you just sit there and like?
Yeah.
And then it's like bloop.
How long did you go for before you decided?
A long time.
Like a month?
Trust me, I see. This is what is a frustrating. I want to stop this conversation because every single person that has this conversation with me is like, "Oh, you just didn't wait long enough," and I'm like, "Yeah, you know my face better than me, who's been shaving for like 15
Hey, I'm just
years."
curious.
For the last 15 years, I've been intimately acquainted with my facial hair. But please tell me more about how I just didn't wait long enough. You big old jerk. You just had such an annoyed look on your face.
How long did you wait though?
A long time, weeks.
Okay.
It grows in all patchy. It grows in all patchy, and it grows in only like on my neck. It won't actually creep up my cheeks.
So I have a question. Back in the era where you would have facial hair as a normal thing, like what did people do then if they couldn't grow it in evenly?
They were just cast out.
Really?
No, I don't know.
Well, that wasn't a really, as in I actually believed you for a second. It was just more like, really? Like, what would they do?
They were bred out of the gene pool because they couldn't find cave women mates.
I wasn't even thinking that far back. Maybe like 200 years.
They couldn't find Middle Ages mates.
Okay.
Peasants.
Well,
The proletariat.
Can I have my Fresca?
yeah, I was going to say, maybe we should smooth things over with sodas. Although, I had a revelation before we started because Alex confessed to not liking Fresca.
Not as much as Coke.
What the hell's going on with my Fresca?
What does that mean?
It's overflowing.
Yeah.
It's bubbling. It's weird.
I spiked it.
Oh, it's heavily bromated or whatever.
Brominated?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, dear.
No, for people
It's just like a layer of bromination on top.
For people at home, it's not that. So sometimes if you shake up a soda a lot, it'll foam up at the top. It's not foaming up. There's just Fresca
That's slowly leaking
that's
up the top.
slowly like leaking out the top, like it was over full.
It was pressure packed.
You may want to hurry.
Before this turns into a...
Yeah, you may want to tweet the Coca-Cola company about this.
You may want to hurry before literally drops of Fresca get on the table. It is weird. It's still coming.
I think it's going to even out.
It's done.
I'm not going to say what just came to mind. I'm just going to keep rolling with the tech.
Don't be gross, Elena.
Oh, please. Come on, guys. You guys are talking about masturbation last week.
Were we?
Wow.
Did we use the M word?
Yes, you did.
Well,
And back to tech. I do have a question. It is related to tech, but it's not related to this week's news. Why do you have an iPad propped up?
That's a strange iPad stand there.
Yeah.
So I often bring my computer in here in case I need to look up, sound smart and say, well, actually, let me tell you about the truth about Ralph Baer. He was born in 1954. And anyway, but the computer can be distracting because then I'm typing in some Google answer for the podcast, but then I see a Slack message going off or someone's IMing me or an email. So I have the iPad propped up to try to be less distracting.
Less distracted.
We'll
Okay.
have to get you a real stand.
Nah, I don't want one.
If for people who aren't actually watching the video podcast, he's using the back of his MacBook display as a stand.
It's a
As a
$1,200
resting
iPad.
Yeah,
stand.
using the much more useful device to prop up the less useful.
You know what?
device.
Call the cops. I don't.
Call the cops.
You can call the tech cops. I don't care.
I'm gonna have to
This
Google
is
that
working
number.
for me.
Okay, we'll move on. And we'll actually move on to something that's not Apple related. We're actually going to talk about Google.
I know.
I
What's
know.
Google up to?
I think I'm like the only one representing here, by the way.
What,
Everyone-
Google?
Well, everyone else at the table has,
Superior
An iPhone.
products.
Just because I don't have
iPhones.
an Android phone doesn't mean I am not an avid Google user.
well, I mean in terms of mobile operating systems.
I love Google Drive. I love Google Maps.
I Google stuff all the time.
Can you see your Google search history? We talked about this on phones, but can you see it on desktop easily?
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know. Probably.
Where?
There's a setting where you can go in and basically look at what you've searched. There was a joke on the
I just want to see what the last thing I searched was.
There's a joke on the Tech Fetish Facebook group about somebody wanting their Google search history read at their funeral.
Oh,
No.
God.
Nope.
No.
Just a bunch of searches for big butts.
There definitely are a lot of searches where I will open up incognito window before typing in, just because I don't want a trace of that on my computer. And very often it's just
Big butts?
Sometimes it's big butts, but very often it's just like I don't like. I was wondering. I don't know. This is not a real example, but like say I have just some desire to know how old is Justin Bieber. I don't want that in my history, but like I kind of want to know for whatever reason.
Yeah.
You know?
I use incognito windows because I don't want my search history tainting the results for many like queries. If I'm trying to look something up with like I want to see what everyone on Google would see.
sure.
Although that becomes less and less relevant because everyone has personalized results, so there is no
There is no what
single
everybody
page
sees.
one of search results anymore.
Right.
But at least you're getting a more like if I've often looked up, Coca-Cola, but instead I wanted to look up cocaine and I typed in Coke, it would send me a bunch of Coca-Cola results.
Right.
Where to buy Coke?
Well, you can turn off personalized search.
Or you can just open an incognito window.
I guess so. I don't know. I just turned off personalized search.
But what is Google doing?
So next week is Google I/O.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
So-
It's next week.
So
Input,
we're-
output.
That's what IO stands for.
Input, output.
Yes.
Not on off.
No.
Whoa, that would be OO.
1 and 0.
Oh, I see what you did.
I don't know. I don't know binary, guys.
1 0.
I saw it on a T-shirt once. That there are 1 and 0 types
I
of people
love
in the world.
you.
Yeah. People who speak binary and people who don't.
Wow.
That's deep.
No, it's terrible.
I think I'm done for the day. So Google I/O is next week. That is the second of the developer conferences that we've been waiting to see news come out of. The first, obviously, was Microsoft Build.
Right.
The next one will be Worldwide Developers Conference,
Just apples.
which is Apple's, and it'll happen right before E3.
Dub, as it's affectionately known.
Is it?
So,
I've never heard anyone say that.
according to Justin, he has pet names for everything, I assume.
I didn't make that up.
Dub dub.
Yeah, that's how Apple internally refers to it,
Interesting.
and other places. You're attributing. I feel like a lot's being projected onto me this podcast.
It's possible.
It's easy.
Okay.
So, it's a developer conference. Google's obviously going to be talking about things related to
Tech.
mobile, the things that they're known for. So, anticipating, obviously,
Scary amounts of data gathering.
well, yeah, that's kind of a given. There's no need to announce that.
Cloud computing up in the sky.
So much with the clouds. So, new release for Android is likely to come. Probably, they're going to call it Android M if they follow last year's nomenclature. Not sure what the M will stand for. We've kind of riffed on that already about what we think it could be.
Marmalade.
Yeah.
Marmalade.
Meringue.
I don't know. I don't think marmalade's sweet enough to count as a dessert.
I
Sure.
think so.
It's very English.
I
It's
still
a UK specific release.
I still
knew
know
a
the
girl
difference
from England
between
named
jelly
Marmalade.
jam, marmalade.
No, you didn't. You are a liar.
That was really interesting for the people, again, not watching. That was like a reversal of the look that Justin originally gave Alex when we had the whole gate debacle.
Gate.
Yeah, gate.
Oh.
The finest in journalism naming right there.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell Marmalade about this.
Please, CC me on that one.
I'm in too deep. Making email addresses now. mmarmalade@google.co.uk.
You better take a profile picture and a wig or something.
Yeah.
So there's going to be expected things like Android getting some kind of update that they're going to talk about.
But what unexpected things can we expect?
That's not confusing at all. So there's a couple smaller things that I saw on the list of things, well, not saw, but things that I've been tracking that I thought was kind of interesting because I don't know if people are really going to be talking about it because it's not full of buzz, but I do think that one of them will affect us on a day-to-day basis possibly, and one of them kind of won't. So I'm kind of, I'm getting ahead of myself. So the first one is that there's rumors that Google is going to release a version of Android that's specifically designed for all the smart devices that are coming out, the Internet of Things, devices that don't run on a lot of power, like say like a smart toaster or a smart refrigerator, those sorts of things that you can control.
Do the things have to have a screen?
Probably not.
No display?
I guess they could interact with your phone.
Yeah.
Just needs a network.
It all tie together, through a network.
It's Wi-Fi or Bluetooth.
Sure.
Yeah, in the cloud, up in the sky.
Clouds.
So the rumors say that it's being called Brillo.
Brillo.
Yeah, and
How do you spell that?
Like a Brillo pad.
Oh,
Brillo.
Okay.
Not like Merlot.
Not Merlot.
Brillo.
Okay.
Burlesque.
Burlesque. That's
More
Brillo.
Okay. Could run on as little as 32 or 64 megabytes of RAM. We're still in megabytes in general when it comes to mobile operating systems, but
I look forward to upgrading the RAM in my toaster.
right. But the latest build of Android is running on 512 megabytes of RAM, so that's quite a bit step down.
Right.
So again, it works on low power devices, like not very high tech sort of hardware.
Right. So it's a version of Android that doesn't need to run the latest version of Angry Birds or
Flappy Bird.
Flappy. What's a big mobile game? I've tried to think of a big mobile game right now.
What the devil did children play?
What are them kids playing?
Asphalt 8.
Asphalt 8
comes up a lot when we test phones.
All right, yeah. So your toaster doesn't need to play Asphalt 8.
Local reference. Pandering to the locals.
But to me, this was interesting, this rumor, just because nobody else is really, I think, trying to standardize, that section of technology. And so many people are buzzing about how smart homes are supposed to be the next big thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm personally conflicted on it, but that doesn't really have any relevance to this discussion.
You can't stop it.
I know, right? I can't stop progress.
I mean, it seems smart because these companies, anyone that's trying to make a smart device, some man of refrigerators or whatever,
Right.
has zero experience with computer operating systems and all of that. It's all brand new, uncharted territory for them. So they need something that they can just plug in and not have to outsource or hire software development and reinvent the wheel for a toaster and for a refrigerator and for, all the other dumb stuff that people want to put computers in, probably shoes for some stupid reason.
Sure. And then
What would you do with a shoe that had
smart
tech?
shoes.
I don't know. It's a stupid
It's
world
like
we
they
live
pump
in.
warning,
themselves.
gum on sole, gum on sole.
No, I
Please remove.
think I actually don't. Shoes is actually not a good example because it would be used in like exercise apps. There's a legitimate use case there. Toasters, I don't know about.
You could program your toaster to, go off or, start every morning at 6 a.m.
Without bread in it.
I
It's like,
know.
wake
That would
up,
be
add
me.
bread, add bread.
Or just you could program it to go off on you and just be mad, angry.
Wake up because I didn't put bread in it.
Yeah, use me more often.
So Google has experience with kind of smart home stuff, right? They bought Nest
They do.
Yeah.
not too long ago.
But that seems like the obvious thing that would get like the upgrade or whatever.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I don't have a Nest at home,
yeah,
and
I
I haven't
forgot
really
about
used
that. I do.
one. Do you?
Yeah.
I have one, yeah.
Is there much to the operating system?
So, if you're just using it on the actual Nest, it's pretty simple, but on your phone, the app is a little bit more complex. But it's not crazy complex. It's just like, if you don't detect any motion for so long, turn off, don't run during these hours when I'm typically not home, that kind of thing. It's basically just like a calendar.
Gotcha.
For me,
I forgot they bought them.
Yeah.
yeah, it was a while ago. Maybe almost 2 years at this point.
Sounds about right.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
But having that centralized sort of application where you can control all the elements of your house would be appealing. But for me, I think the interesting part about having Google have a version of Android is that the standardization of it also perhaps helps with the whole security issue, because there's been talk, I guess is the best word for it, of people being worried about the security of the Internet of Things, that if it's not standardized or if it's all, coming out of, a Chinese factory where, they could be putting, malware on it, basically.
Have their version of the NSA.
Yeah, well, I mean, China is notorious for spying on us.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, but it almost seems like if this one OS, stripped down OS, does power everything, then it's almost more vulnerable if they manage to get into that. Like, what if everything runs its own? Your thermostat and your refrigerator and your car and all this other stuff all has their own separate operating system. They all have their separate points of vulnerability. Like,
yes and no. I think it just depends how that gets implemented, right? So, I mean, it's possible that if having a bunch of different companies design a bunch of different interfaces could provide some kind of not real security, but makes it a little more difficult. But at the same time, if you are not in the software game, as you pointed out earlier, you're probably not going to be spending a lot of resources on it to thoroughly make sure no one can hack this toaster.
Yeah, imagine
you're not going to care, right?
You could, if everything ran Google OS, Android OS, and they did find some vulnerability, you could almost certainly convince someone their house was haunted.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, imagine how you could use it for marketing too, right? If you are able to tap into everyone's toaster and refrigerator habits and stuff like that, you could, this region right here eats a lot of whatever. Change your marketing tactics.
It's gonna like scan it and be like, 48% use wheat bread or something.
Right. It's like, oh, this guy needs some help cooking, so we'll send him some.
Well, maybe that's the reason why Google's doing this in the first place, right? To mine all that data so they can advertise.
There's definitely people are worried about that, especially when they bought Nest. People were worried about that.
Yeah. I mean, all that data is going to be used against people at some point in some way.
Yeah, but it's already used against you. Like, that's why Gmail's free. If a service is free, you are the thing being sold. You're the product being sold. They put personalized ads against your email.
I don't mean quite in that regard. I agree with you on that, but I think, if they're providing the operating system, I don't think that's necessarily a case where they're going to be mining data on the end user because that's how they make their money to offset the cost of that product. I think they're licensing it out, or they might.
I would absolutely expect anything to phone home.
Yeah.
And report data back on how often it's used and other stuff like that. I would be more surprised if it didn't than did.
I'm thinking more just in terms of, say, the government wants to subpoena you or subpoena like your records, and that way they can track to see, were you really home when you said that you were home, or
that is terrifying.
Yeah. Because your refrigerator didn't note that you opened the door at 5:55 p.m. like you said it was.
If you were home, then why do you have so much juice right now? Why aren't you drinking all this juice? The man wants to know.
Yeah, you let your.
You're gonna have to account for your surplus in juice.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like, but I drink a whole bunch of lemonade, so it thinks I was gone all day. Should have left that one on the table.
Huh. I don't know. It's gonna be. If this pans out, I think it'll be a very small but very interesting bit of news to come out of Google I/O.
Yeah. I just want to see what the OS looks like. Like, is it actually going to be displayed on devices? Is it just going to be like, I'm using my phone as a remote,
Yeah.
Because I like Google's design,
But you have an iPhone.
Yeah. I with the Google app right on the homepage. Apple hardware, Google services.
Do you mean Google design in general or specifically Android design?
I guess I mean Android design.
Material design.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what did material design come out of Google I/O last year?
So material design is yes. that was announced as part of their Android L announcement that they were introducing this new version of Android, and they were doing a substantial overhaul of how it looked.
All right, so I wouldn't expect then that big of an overhaul this year.
No, because we're still essentially, I believe, on Android 5.0. So, we've had previously, when they still had the previous number, like 4, 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 4.4, there were quite a few major releases before they moved to 5. So I don't think they're quite done with this one yet. I would be surprised if they were. So hopping over to the other bit of random Google I/O rumors is, to me, it's strange it's getting this much buzz, but supposedly Google is going to sever the photo service aspect from Google Plus and make it its own standalone thing.
Yeah. Well, I think it's getting a lot of buzz because people love to decree, the death knell of Google Plus. People love to talk about how Google Plus was a failure.
How would you define success? Because
Yeah.
it would have to be a breakaway hit for it to then, well, that's not true. You could just fail out the gate.
Which it kind of did.
Yeah, no, it absolutely did.
Kind of middling.
I still, as I've said on Tech Fetish for years, think that Google Plus was actually a really great, well-designed service. It was smart to put people in circles. I thought that was a really natural way to...
It definitely had some smart things to it.
The circle,
There
I
were
mean,
big
it all
problems.
orbited around, if people didn't ever use Google Plus or don't recall, it was built all around this circle system where you would have this big group of friends, 500 friends or however many you wanted, and then, 100, then you would drop them into circles, and it was really draggy-droppy, and you would say, these 8 people are my family, these 100 people are my friends, these 200 people are my coworkers, and the rest of them are IGN fans or whatever it is. And that was such a natural and smart way to handle sharing and permissions compared to how Facebook does it, which remains a mess to this day. And so I thought it was really easy because then I could interact with IGN fans when I wanted to by going to that circle or just put baby pictures in my family circle. I thought it was great. I really liked that aspect.
And you
of it
said,
a lot.
baby pictures. I mean, I think Google Plus does a really good job with photos, which is why that thing's becoming the spin-off, I think. Like
Yeah.
when I was on Android, I really liked how it would automatically back up the photos when I was on Wi-Fi. And then it would even tweak the lighting a little bit. It did scare me the first time, though, because I thought everything was being made public. And I feel like they had to add a million warnings to be like, just so you know, not everyone can see these photos.
You'll share your dick pics when you're good and ready.
Exactly.
Am I allowed to say that?
I'm to adjust the lighting
Well, I think you
first.
already did. So
Okay.
That actually highlights a problem that I had with Google Plus sharing photos and actually related to the circles bit is that it added some clumsiness for a long time and maybe even still. Like the default sharing option for me if I post something on Google Plus is shared with myself. It's like I'll write something, hit the plus button or hit the post button, and then it just says that it was shared with me. I'm like,
well, you have to actually manually fill out every time now, I think. Like,
yeah,
who you wanna share it with.
that's really clumsy.
It is, especially if you're used to Facebook.
Yeah, I had that issue with photos. I'd post a bunch of photos. I'm like, oh, they're only shared with me.
Facebook
Sweet.
is yelling on a rooftop. Google Plus is writing a note and sticking it in a drawer.
Yeah.
And then finding it a week later.
Yeah. No one has the key to the drawer.
Nope. Not even you.
But yeah,
Well-
they've definitely done a lot more with photos. Obviously they bought Snapseed a number of years ago, and they sort of integrated that into their Google Plus photos. A lot of those same editing tools are available in Plus, but there's not a whole lot of people posting pictures to Plus. So maybe this move to spin it off into its own service, it seems to me like they're kind of going after, like Instagram or a Flickr.
Or iCloud,
Sure,
which
yeah.
won't stop sending me annoying notifications that I'm almost out of space.
And that's the thing I like about being an Android user, not to toot that horn too much, but you get more space because it's
Totally.
the entirety of your Google Drive
Yeah.
allotment, which is, I think, 15 gigs
15,
right now?
yeah.
Very
for-
large.
That you get for free.
Right.
So unless you're doing a ton of video, it's really not going to be a problem to back up most everything that's on the phone. Whereas with the iPhone, I think I already hit, 5 gigs?
Yeah, I hit
already-
that.
I hit that
Yeah.
super fast.
Yep.
They actually give you. So on iPhone, you can actually get, I think, 20 gigs for 99 cents a month, which
Yes.
is pretty cheap.
But you still have to pay for it, which I
Yeah,
find
$12 a year mark plus
I didn't even
get it.
realize that's crazy cheap. Do you think?
Right?
Do you think that's just to incentivize people to start let's
I
get
think
people
so.
used to paying any amount of money for this service?
Maybe.
Like,
I don't know.
Definitely.
But I was surprised at how cheap it was. I don't pay it, but I was surprised at how cheap
I
it
think
was.
somebody at Apple just got on a whiteboard and did the math and oh wow, if we just got $12 a year out of a third of our customers, look how many solid gold houses I could buy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Solid gold
they'll
houses.
finally get that ivory back scratcher you've been signing up for.
Exactly.
There are ways around that, though. I mean, you can sign up for Dropbox.
Yeah.
If you automatically back up, you start getting more allotment. There's even Microsoft's OneDrive service that does something similar.
But iPhoto organizes things so nicely.
Does it?
Really? I don't really like the way that
I've-
it separates things out.
I've
I
never
like
liked anything that Apple does automatically for me.
I agree.
See, I like the automatically for me part because I just tend to take pictures and then never look at them again. Like, I have so many pictures of like numbers in like parking garages just so I can look at it once and be like, oh yeah, I was in B5.
Right.
And then I
Oh,
never
is that
look
how
at
you
again.
remember it?
Yeah. You looked at me as though I was going to say like bodies that I've hidden in parking garages. It's like, I need to know where all those corpses are in case they get a RICO on me.
I wasn't going to bring it up because I thought it'd be kind of awkward, because if I actually knew, then I might disappear.
Yeah. I will not implicate you.
Yeah, I'm just going to stay right here, nice and safe. So yes, photos. That's supposed to be one of the announcements on stage, supposedly,
Watch for it.
that they're going to rip it out and have it be its own thing, so that you can now share, I guess, to Facebook and Twitter and other services, so it's not so tied to
Sure.
exclusively to Google+.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a smart move in there. I think I'm surprised at how little Facebook's done with photos. Like sharing,
Yeah.
you put photos on
Facebook
Facebook.
does garbage things to photos, though.
So they have the same, clumsy interface that they've had for a long time, which I guess was fine, 5 or 6 years ago, but it's not evolved. But then the compression is
That's what I'm
just
talking about.
horrendous. It
The
doesn't.
compression is gross.
Yeah, it's terrible, and it's surprising to me that no one's really gone after
Terrible in what way?
the compression.
Because I don't know anything about
Oh,
this.
post a picture with something red in it, and then look at it after Facebook's gotten done with it, and it will just be mush.
Burnt orange.
The color. I mean, it doesn't change the hue necessarily, but the color red tends to compress pretty badly if you up the compression of something, and they're pretty aggressively compressing their images.
See, now this is why you follow Mark Ryan's YouTube video
I haven't talked about this
photography
one.
blog. What's it called?
It doesn't matter.
Plug it, Mark. Plug it.
No.
The man won't even plug his thing.
I admire that.
Okay.
We're still going to do it for you.
I know.
right.
Yeah, what's it called?
Micromatic.
Thank you.
There we go. Check it out.
But yeah, the compression's terrible.
It's-
I thought I had found a way around it for a short bit, which is to upload directly from Lightroom to Facebook
okay.
with a plugin.
Okay.
But even then, it's slightly better than uploading it directly, or was
Interesting.
for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I had a running hypothesis that was because they figured, oh, if you're using Lightroom, then you must be, using good photography equipment, and you actually want your photos to look good.
Maybe.
That's
But
funny.
Lately, I don't really see much of it as much of a difference anymore, so I've just kind of thrown my hands up and given up on it.
Yeah.
If anybody listening knows a Facebook photo hack like this, put it in the Facebook group. I would like to hear it.
Yeah. So you're happy with iCloud photos or iPhotos?
I mean, I
What is
use
it
that
called?
thing so little. I do like that it sorts things by date and by like, who was in it and where on the map and blah blah blah. Like I can go and look and like, oh, here's my trip to Los Angeles, like pretty easily. But honestly, I'm not a hardcore photo guy.
Sure. What do you do with your photos currently before the Google app changes your habits?
Oh. Well, I mean, for my phones, I just automatically have them backed up to the cloud. I don't do as much photo editing as I used to. I've gotten really lazy.
I don't do anything.
You don't do anything with your photos?
Nope.
No filter.
Do
Hashtag.
you take them? You don't share them? You don't put them?
I take them and then I
Do
don't
you
share
burn them
them.
onto CDs and mail them out to your family?
Yeah, I don't share them out in any way or back them up anywhere or do anything with them.
Do they exist?
That's a good question. If you take a photo and then you never look at it again,
Does
does it exist?
Yes.
I think the answer is yes.
Yes, it does.
Yes, because some guy in Washington is looking at it.
That's true. No, I plug my computer, or I plug my iPhone into my computer by hand with a cable, and then I drag them all over by hand.
Like
Gotcha.
a caveman.
It doesn't automatically pull them in?
No.
Oh, interesting. Huh. Every time I plug an iPhone into this thing, I get iPhoto popping up asking.
Oh yeah,
I
you
know.
tell it not to
Yeah,
do this ever again.
I put a stop to all that immediately.
I haven't had a chance yet, and honestly, I need it sometimes. There was
Sure.
the Windows 10 event that was some of the photos in the live blog was me taking photos with my iPhone and automatically and just like immediately grabbing them off the phone. It was interesting. I'm gonna move us along to something a little different. Space.
Space.
So
Like
much-
hard drive space?
No.
Yeah.
Well, that's also a form of space, but no, I'm talking about celestial bodies, planets,
Oh, okay, cool.
stars.
What's happening
That
in
sort of thing.
space?
Man, what's not?
Do you think space has a PR guy?
Just the entirety of space has one
Yeah.
PR.
His name's
agency.
the Lord.
Wow. Okay.
I got real fast.
I just say things.
So, There's an initiative right now. Right now, as some people probably already know, NASA's New Horizons spacecraft is getting near to Pluto. And then after, I think it's July 14th, it's going to pass Pluto.
The planet Pluto.
Well, is it really a planet anymore? I think
Nope.
it's
Yes.
a dwarf
Nope.
planet, right?
Planetoid?
Yeah. And after July 14th, when it is done brushing by Pluto, saying hello, it's going to actually make its journey into interstellar space.
It's still a planet to me.
What's interstellar space?
I think it's basically anything
Out
that's
of
not
the
our
solar system.
Gotcha.
Whoa.
God, that's so far. Space
How
is
long?
terrifying.
So how long has it been flying? Is it flying? Is it
I think it launched.
Traveling.
Off the top of my head, I can't remember. I thought maybe it was a couple years ago that it launched.
Had to have been years.
No one knows, actually.
Nobody knows.
Yep.
Absolutely not. NASA would not track that at all.
There's no way for anyone to know.
They're like, when did we? I forgot. I didn't write it down.
There's actually
That's
no
what they
record.
said at NASA.
No record of how long it's been flying.
In any case, there is a group that's calling themselves One Earth Message that wants to upload crowdsourced data from Earth to that particular spacecraft before it leaves our solar system.
Their sister group, One Direction, is being used to raise significant publicity for the cause.
I heard they just lost a member.
Elena hates all my jokes.
Elena has no sense of humor today because she's barely staying afloat after not sleeping well because of still being sick. Sorry. This is a really terrible cold. I'm really actually hoping nobody else in the office actually got as badly as I did.
Stop.
I'm just glad that I didn't infect you guys because you all are still here after last week. So you guys have the best immune systems. So
I'm
your
usually pretty
daughter
invincible.
has a very good survival chance for the future if the apocalypse hits.
Thank you very much.
I wash my hands like a madman.
I whip my hair back and forth.
Yeah, there you go. Boom,
So-
just like boom, right off the dome.
What is it that this group wants to upload into interstellar space?
They're just
Like a
it's-
Rickroll?
The movie Interstellar.
So it
Blue
wants to
on Blu-ray.
upload about 150 megabytes of data. It's basically
You have
being,
to pay for that. Verizon.
Oh God.
Roaming's going to be through the roof.
Well done.
So the project's being spearheaded by the same guy who worked not only on the original Cosmos program, but also worked on the Voyager record project, which was to they basically took two records. They were duplicates of each other, and they had just different sound recordings of nature. So there was wind and I think whale calls.
Oh.
Also various photos. And I think
So it's like a digital time capsule.
kind of,
Yeah.
yeah. And it was on these records. So they had
The
people,
Voyager, the stuff they put on the Voyager spacecraft is really fascinating.
Yeah. So they had they had Voyager 1, Voyager 2, so each one had one of these records. And it also had, I think those records had greetings in different languages on there. It's basically
They had a bunch of mathematics stuff and diagrams of the universe that, assuming they were readable, would indicate that we had some level of knowledge of.
we're not completely stupid.
That were
in
totally
real life.
worth blowing up. You should totally come check that out.
DNA strands, diagrams of stuff like that.
Wait, we don't want to send them DNA. Then they're going to know how to kill us.
Or clone us.
That too.
And then they're going to wonder why we're so weird. But,
Wait, what if some of us are clones from space?
I don't know.
See, that feels like a mistake to send them DNA. We should take that back.
Too late. It was launched in 1977.
Man, they didn't know anything.
It's already on. I think as a Voyager 2 has already made its way out of our solar system. So that's gone.
Well, maybe that's what we sent the new spacecraft out. Its secret mission is to rendezvous with Voyager and say, yo,
Give me
we
that
need-
DNA back.
we need that DNA back.
I'll trade you. These people just gave me an upload of this other data that you can have instead.
We got this Miley Cyrus video.
So those records apparently held about 150 megabytes each, and that's about the same size as what they want to upload, remotely from Earth to the New Horizons spacecraft. And so that's supposed to hold about 100 photos and an hour of audio. And what it's going to be is apparently just dependent on what crowdsourcing happens. So hopefully it's not a bunch of genitalia pics,
Right?
because that's
It'll be a
that's
bunch of
humanity.
cat pics.
Oh, that would be better. This is humanity. We love this particular random species on our planet.
That's because they're so cute.
They are cute. That's very true. So it's a project that hasn't actually been approved by NASA yet. This is a separate group that just wants to see this done.
They're trying to get NASA to do it.
They're trying to get NASA to do this. They're actually crowdfunding the project. Their goal is $500,000.
And this is to pay the Verizon roaming charge.
Right.
Wait, so they're raising
Yeah, the whole
$500,000 to do something that NASA's not even necessarily on board with?
The whole thing's very suspicious.
Why is it going to cost NASA that much?
I don't know, honestly.
Are they going to bribe NASA with $500,000?
Maybe. So just look the other way, and we're just gonna upload this.
Hey, look over here, $500,000. Just upload. Yeah.
I think it's like a drop in the bucket to NASA. They're like,
Right.
we work for the government. We've
Right.
got money.
Well, they're going to say
Yeah,
$500,000. Okay, that will buy a new set of bolts for the tail.
Right.
And NASA doesn't have that much money these
No, I
days.
know, especially because some groups are trying to cut their funding, which is sad. But in any case, the campaign still has like 2 months to go, but they're only, I think, at $13,000 right now.
Sad face.
So unless somebody like, I don't know,
I'm
Elon
sure.
Musk or somebody else with lots of money decides to randomly
Ben
donate.
Affleck.
Too bad they're not making potato salad. Then they'd have their money.
Sick reference.
Oh,
Right?
wow, yeah.
I remember
Okay.
that guy.
Yeah, that was
You can make a
dope.
lot of potato salad for $500,000.
You sure can.
How
It'll all
much?
spoil so quickly.
Probably.
Not in space. In the cold vacuum of space, it'll be well
It's
preserved.
the perfect place for potato
Yeah.
salad.
Oh, wow. I never really thought about that.
Cooking fetish, everybody.
Space cooking fetish.
Boy. Anyway, I was wondering, after reading all this, after even all this exposition, what would you want to see in basically a space time capsule?
Ugh.
What do you think would? I mean, all the joke cat and growing picture jokes aside, what do you guys think would be the best representation of humanity?
A copy of Mad Max Fury Road. That movie was awesome.
Oh, that would be cool. I don't think you could fit that in 150 megs.
Just the
though.
audio version.
It'd be so compressed.
It would be
Yeah,
terrible
you're
on
right.
150
Just
megs.
put the Blu-ray in there.
They can't upload a
They
Blu-ray.
can't upload a
We'll
Blu-ray.
just
it's too
physically
much.
put the disc there.
It probably would fly faster than an entire spaceship, so it could probably catch up to it, right?
I think we did a really good job with the Voyager, the stuff we already put, diagrams of how our reproductive system works and, like I said, mathematical equations.
That's too much
and
info.
Yeah, definitely math. I feel like that's got to be the most universal kind of.
The aliens are
language there
like,
could
too long, didn't read.
be. Yeah, give me the TLDR on this one, Earth.
Well, do you think there's anything that has happened between 1977 and now that would be worth trying to add to that? Because a lot of what you're talking about, Justin, is pretty universal. That's
Yeah.
not really going to change.
I don't know. I mean, I know 77 feels like it was a long time ago. We weren't even born yet on this podcast and yada, yada. But, I mean, in a cosmic sense, it's incredibly little time. Or, like, in the amount of when you're measuring it by, like, the human race. It's kind of like, nah, hasn't been long enough for us to change, really.
Sure.
I feel
We've
like
then-
sequenced the human genome since then. Maybe that. Maybe something like
give
that.
them
Yeah.
even more information on how to
Yeah.
destroy us.
Well, I'm not Mark Ryan in this particular instance.
This is-
I choose to take an optimistic view of our alien overlords.
This is making me think that we can make a really cool social network where it's called 150 megs, where you fill that 150 megs with whatever it is that you want to say about yourself.
Oh,
Would you sign up?
Yeah,
you would have to really
Yeah.
limit people from endless.
but wouldn't it just be like manifestos?
I don't know.
It'd be all
It would turn into
text-based.
Facebook.
It'd be all ASCII art.
Horribly compressed red pictures.
Yeah.
That's too much already. Like 150 megabytes, that would go quick.
Only get a couple.
You're
in
gonna
there.
have to, like I said, you're gonna have to stick to ASCII
It
art.
should almost be like 1 megabyte.
Yeah, I would probably limit it to more than 150 megs.
Oh, I was gonna go in the other direction,
What?
like 1 meg.
Sure. I was saying I would limit it more than just 100. Oh, I used the word more incorrectly. Well, I used it confusingly, ambiguously.
I'm still not sure what you were trying to
It
say.
would be more limited than 150 megs.
what?
You guys are saying the same thing, except
Mark
that
is
you
just
gave
saying
a
it
number,
poorly.
Justin, and Mark Ryan
What's-
has not given a number.
What storage space? How much storage space do you think they should have?
Well, I don't know. I'd like room for a handful of pictures and a song.
Song?
A handful of pictures in a song.
Get some Metallica
Mark Ryan's
MP3 that was
first
recorded
album.
off the radio and put on Napster.
Yep.
It's gonna be at 64.
Room for a mixtape.
Yeah, a mixtape for the galaxy by the planet Earth.
That they already did that in Guardians of the Galaxy.
You're right.
All right, so I guess nobody has any further aspirations besides what NASA did in 1977. So,
Well, turns out those guys are pretty smart.
yep, they solved everything. We're done.
What would you put in it?
I don't know.
Well, then don't I guess we just don't have
that's
any.
An opening statement. That's not a definitive statement. That was a colloquialism, which was me buying time for myself to think, because I think so slowly. Thanks for pointing that out to everybody, Justin.
You don't put this evil on me. What would you put in the space time capsule?
It sounds really negative, but I think honestly, photos of things of how they were in 77 versus now. So like, goodbye rainforest, goodbye Lake Tahoe.
Come save us. Thank you.
Alien life, we're destroying ourselves. Can you help us out?
So you're saying you turn it into an SOS?
Yeah.
But we got that internet now.
Oh, maybe.
That's true.
Do you know if they put Morse code in there as a thing for aliens to learn?
I think they did. I don't know. If I remember right, I think there's a sheet that has different like languages that like has the corresponding letters and different alphabets and stuff like that.
Well, now we can just give them a copy of Rosetta Stone.
Just upload the entire
Yeah.
bit of software to them. Nice. At 150 megs, we're going to have to use some old version of it.
We can skip a couple of the lesser languages.
You can download all of Wikipedia and put it on a. Well, I mean, when I first heard about this, you could put it on an iPod. That's how old this program is. But now I suppose you would put it on your smartphone, like
Sure.
a local version of the entire thing. And it's not the file
Put it
size
on
is-
your Apple Watch.
There's different exports. There's this page on Wikipedia to download all of Wikipedia, and there's different versions of it. And the one without images, just the text, is like incredibly small.
Yeah, text isn't much.
And that's like really powerful. Like the sum of human knowledge is just like literally in your pocket, and you don't even need not even searchable on the internet in your pocket, but it's just there.
I think in principle, it's a very cool concept, but knowing what you'll actually find on Wikipedia for like, I don't know, a third of the pages, it's also kind of a scary thought.
Yeah, lightsaber fighting styles.
Not even that, but just, when people go in and troll different pages or purposely put
Yeah.
up incorrect information.
You
things like
save
that.
it right as someone defaced like the White House's page or something like that.
Stuff like that.
I think in that 150 megs, I would upload malware that would deliver advertising to space.
Why are you
Makes so much money.
evil?
It makes so much money.
Mark Ryan,
Oh, I
you're
like
so
the way you
evil
think, Mark
today.
Ryan.
One, you think negative things about alien life, which, is not,
And then you want to serve them ads.
it's not a,
I mean, someone has
Crazy.
to. If not us, who?
but.
That's
True.
what I want to know.
So you just offload that on the aliens because you don't want to deal with it?
I wouldn't assume that the aliens are evil, but I would not leave it open to the possibility that they are and that now they know our genome.
Fair.
Why don't you just send them a bomb, Mark Ryan?
No,
So when they access it, they explode.
Why take the chance?
Yeah.
Okay. That's actually a perfect segue to
Ooh.
the next topic, actually,
God.
when
Oh.
it comes to the whole privacy sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know if anyone has been following this, but RadioShack's been wanting to sell personal data of all its customers.
All they
As
know
part of
about
their
me is that I
bankruptcy.
bought an SD card once.
Yeah.
I actually signed up for cell service through them way back in the day. So for
Ooh.
me, that actually is somewhat of a concern because I have
Sure.
no idea if they kept those records or not.
Right.
So I've been kind of watching this just because of that. And so it's been interesting because some of the news that's come out of it is that like private companies that you wouldn't expect were on board to try to stop the sale of this data to a third party.
Oh.
So Apple jumped on that bandwagon. And more surprisingly to me, AT&T was on that bandwagon. AT&T is not a company that I would think actually cared
No.
about.
Did they jump
They're
in
like-
after everyone else was?
Yeah, but wait.
Hey
wait,
guys,
wait.
us too. Yeah. No, I guarantee it's if anyone's gonna be selling people sensitive data, it's us.
Well,
We've
that's
got
the thing.
that market corner.
Maybe AT&T, like again, these companies are not altruistic. Maybe AT&T assumes that they already have a lot of the data that RadioShack has. So if
They have
it's
it-
sold out there, widely disseminated, then they lose some sort of competitive advantage.
Right.
That
They've got the exclusive rights to that data.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't expect any of them to be doing this for PR reasons or even certainly not altruistic reasons.
No, I don't think so either, but I'm still surprised that they would wade into the fray. I mean, I think it was a coalition of 38 states that, including Texas, which is the home state for RadioShack, that basically sued, I think, or got legal, like basically asked the courts to get involved to block the sale of this. So turns out they came to, I think it was through mediation, they came to a resolution, and the final say is that they are only going to sell email addresses and only, I think.
Oh, cool.
So email addresses, and then I think it's only email addresses that have been active within the last 2 years. And then
So the good ones.
So the good ones. And so and then on top of that, those users or those people who are in that pool still have the right or the option to opt out.
Oh, good.
So
But
if they
it's
find
on-
some obscure government form, they can
Mm-hmm.
manage to opt out.
Right.
That's just the worst, man. Like I started getting spam phone calls on my phone, which used to be called. It's weird that I just called them spam phone calls.
Call it auto dial or whatever, right?
But like it's just this email term. leaked over and-
Robocalls.
Yeah, and so that never happened before. Never
Telemarketing.
Telemarketing. It never happened on my cell phone, and then it started happening, and I'm like, where did I put my phone number within the last few months? And I don't know that it was them, but the only thing I could think of was I registered a domain on GoDaddy
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and
they
put
would
in my phone
totally-
call. And then I started getting all these phone calls, and I'm like, you motherfucker. Like, it's the worst, and it's still going on. I never answered them. I never engaged with them.
Is it usually the same number? Because you can just block the number.
No, it's different ones.
Of
And
course,
then as
they're
it's
smarter than
dialing,
that.
I usually just take a second to type it into Google, and it's like, yeah, this is a sales call.
Wow.
Did you go back to GoDaddy and like opt out, or make sure that you opt out of their
No.
data sharing?
No.
Because why
I
would
mean,
you?
it's already been shared.
Why would you register with GoDaddy?
I mean, I just was registering a domain as a
That's
joke,
victim
and
blaming.
Those guys are jerks.
I register my domain wherever.
Wherever.
It's his domain. He can register it where he wants.
I bought and it's not even a good domain. It was this stupid joke where Marty and I were complaining about something at IGN, and I'm like, I'm gonna start my own website, and I'm gonna call it GIN.
Wow, Gin was available.
Well, so I got Gin 64,
Oh, wow, that is an old school reference.
and then I bought it, and it was like $9 or whatever, and I'm like, well,
Well, that's money well spent.
it's like I'm not even. If I was like at least parking it for like a silly joke, maybe, but
Yeah.
it's like I'm not even using it for anything.
Did you keep it, or did you let it expire after a year?
This was like 2 months ago that this happened.
Oh.
Gin 64.
Oh. Yeah. GoDaddy doesn't really have a good reputation when it comes to that, unfortunately.
Maybe we can use that domain name for the social network, and you get 64 megabytes to upload whatever you want.
Oh.
Yeah.
We'll
There's a
make up
plan.
Gin
after the
64.
fact. So it's just like all these companies change their origin story, like the mythology of how they were founded afterwards. So
that it sounds cooler.
first of all, we'll delete this podcast. Sorry, everyone. You'll never hear what we're saying.
Right.
But then we'll come up like the GIN will stand for something else,
We'll like make up something for it to
Yeah.
like stand for.
like the greatness.
Get it now.
Get it now.
64.
Greatness Intelligence Network. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Great internet name.
Ooh,
Oh.
There you go.
Wow. Alex already has that
I'm
nailed.
good at this.
GIN.
So
No, that was terrible.
gotta slip back in with the rest of this news. So for anybody who does feel like they could be affected by this and were concerned or have been concerned, I just wanted to add, and this is an important part for me, which was that they are going to destroy the bulk of the consumer data that RadioShack originally had, which means that no credit or debit card account numbers will be shared, no social security numbers, no birth dates, and no phone numbers will transfer over to the new owner of this data. So it's only just the email addresses.
Why in the world does Radio Shack have anyone's social security number?
Because of the cell, I assume it's because of the cell phone.
Cell
Well,
phone
what about
signups.
I don't think I gave my social security
You
number.
have
definitely
to
did,
for
yeah.
a credit check, because most
Why did I need a credit check?
because postpaid accounts in the United States require a credit check.
I don't think I put in my social security card.
Pretty sure I did.
You
Yeah,
have to.
getting my phone, yeah. This
That's
sounds
like-
familiar. I remember being perturbed by it at the moment and being like, wow, you have to do this?
Yeah, you have to give them your social security number for a credit check in the U.S. If you want to avoid that, like if you have bad credit or you just want to stay like off
Off
you
the
know,
grid.
off the grid, then you would do a prepaid account because then you can pay that by cash or whatever.
I'm tired of
Through
people that want to be off the
credit.
grid being seen as kooks. It's like that should be the normal default. And people that are like, sure, if I can, here you go. Here's my social security number. Here's my dick pics. Here's just take all of it. They're the ones that should be the weirdos. And the people that want to be off the grid, that should be
When
like
I
the new
think
normal.
off the grid, I think some dude in the Ozarks with a big beard, like eating roots, paying his dog in rocks to like tend the garden.
Where
like,
are the
starting his own
Ozarks?
country. The Ozarks?
Yeah, where are they?
Isn't that near Canada?
No one
I don't
knows.
know.
It's like
I
the
don't know.
Ozarks.
Is it
Near Canada.
near Canada or in Canada?
You know, ish.
I think. Are you thinking of the Dakotas? Is that what you're talking about?
No. he's
Maybe.
talking
I don't know
about the-
what I'm talking about.
He's talking about the Ozarks,
the Ozarks.
and no one knows where they are.
All right, I'm Googling it.
All right,
We are products apparently.
The
of-
Ozark Mountains, they're near Missouri.
Missouri.
So not Canada.
I mean,
Actually,
it depends. If you're in Japan, then yeah, that's pretty close to
That's
Canada.
still closer than being in Japan. So
Arkansas, Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma.
If you don't care about personal privacy, you're the weirdo. I'm taking it. I'm making this my. This is gonna be my thing.
Okay.
I feel like a lot of people just didn't grow up in a world where that was even a concern because nothing was. I think there's a huge difference between our generation and like even the one before us because things weren't as centralized.
People just give me a really hard time on social media and in this office, calling me paranoid and all of this, and I'm like, no, like the Washington, like incredibly reputable newspapers are like, yeah, the NSA considered using Kinect to spy on people. And I'm like, why doesn't this bother anyone but me?
Well, there was also a news report this week that said that the NSA originally had tried to inject malware into the Google Play Store.
Yeah.
And I think even Samsung's own store or mobile app store, just so that way they can try to get information from specific targets.
And it doesn't make us. So first of all, let's even ignore the personal rights violations there. Like from a geopolitical national security standpoint, that still doesn't even make us more safe because you've just introduced like a flaw or a backdoor that presumably anyone else could find and utilize.
Sure.
Like, are we more safe by some third party now having some way to get into your software, or less safe, even if it is, your own government? Like, they've created something that can be exploited by others.
Well, I think that's kind of the crux of the issue that's, I think, we're even more rapidly getting pushed towards right now in terms of convenience versus privacy. So, I mean, just going back to the early part of this podcast, when we were talking about, say, Google having a monopoly.
I thought you were going to say beards.
No, there's that too. But
That didn't make it into the podcast.
But
Oh,
control of the Internet of Things, right? So if that's a way that someone could hack in through a back door to get data about you, do you then choose to have a lot of convenience in your life where you could, set all these different things to go off at certain times so that way it's all automated and you don't have to worry about your lights being turned on at the right time or your heater being turned on at the right time? Or do you not do that because you're worried that someone's going to be tracking you? I remember seeing something on Kickstarter. It was this device that you plugged into the 12-volt part of your car, and it had a GPS tracker on it. And I think it had like an NFC, not an NFC chip, but some kind of chip that actually would communicate your location. So that way you could, like if you were pulling into your driveway, your house could automatically turn on something, whether it's your heater or lights or whatever.
Why wouldn't that just be an app on your phone?
I think this was a while ago. And I don't remember specifically the reason why it was separated from, like, say, a smartphone sort of application. But I remember looking at that and thinking, that's really cool, but I don't want anyone having the ability to track my car wherever I'm going.
When Foursquare was still a fairly new, novel thing, and they've pivoted now, but at the time, Foursquare was a service to check into businesses and locations. Someone created it was not meant to be genuine. It was like social commentary, but they created a website that was I don't remember the domain, but it was something like rob these people or something like this. And then it was just people that hadn't set their Foursquare privacy settings checking in somewhere far away from their house. And it's like, you just told the internet that you are in another state. But then those same people probably have someone like, hey, pick up my mail because I don't want my neighbors to know I'm not there.
Oh, okay. I see where you're going.
What do you mean? It was pretty I mean, but even if they didn't
I was
do that,
thinking robbing these people in person. I was like, what?
No,
why does it matter?
know that
about
their
going
house
to
is
their
empty.
house.
Yeah, I figured it out.
I think there was a news story, a local news story about an Uber driver trying to rob, like they had taken someone to SFO, and then they went back to their house to try to rob it, but their roommate was still home.
Yeah.
So the police obviously got involved at that point, which is why it became a news story. But it's kind of crazy, that whole trade-off between privacy and convenience right now.
it can make you a service like Uber, in some ways, you do give up a certain amount of privacy there compared to just hopping into an anonymous yellow cab. But that part of it's a two-way street. You know who your driver is, and there's an organization that knows where your driver is at all times. So if you're a woman, or there's no need to even bring sex into it. If you're anybody, getting into a cab late at night or something like that, like that's considerably safer and more secure for you, by having that sort of layer of connectedness and oversight there.
And if you've ever even just like left your bag or a phone in, a cab, it's much easier to get hold of the Uber that just picked you up than it is the cab that just picked you up.
Yeah. So, and there's a record of, after you get dropped off, there's a record of exactly where you went, and when you get emailed your receipt, it tells you the exact path that you followed. When I used to, before I moved to San Francisco, I would come here for work and take yellow cabs. And I didn't know the city that well, and I would feel like sometimes the cab was taking me for a ride a little bit, but there was no way for me to even really know or verify that.
Right.
And it puts a stop to all kinds of shenanigans, big and small. But you give up something. You give up your ability to be anonymous in that equation as well. So,
sure.
Also, if some accusations are to be believed, Uber is tracking just everybody's locations, just for the sake of it.
Oh yeah. They had God mode on their
What would you call
software.
it? Being plain, not Big Brother, but maybe Little Brother. I don't know. There's not a term.
Creepy brother.
There's not an official term for it yet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. Well, I mean, they've expanded everywhere by now, but before they were in every city, they probably absolutely decided where to expand based on how many people have the Uber app on there. Like before they're in Philadelphia, how saturated is the Uber app on people's mobile devices in this city?
Sure.
You'd be dumb not to do that.
Yeah. Well, it would be interesting, for people to weigh in.
Everyone should be good and scared.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do here on Tech Fetish.
I will give at least a useful piece of advice so that it's not all just gloom and doom. That social security number, if you're in the U.S., don't give it to anybody who doesn't need it. So if they're not running a credit check on you, they don't really need it. Or
yeah, but IGN takes it from our freelancers.
But that's all I was gonna say. If it's not for the purpose of credit or for the
Payroll.
government in terms of like employment, you don't need to give that out. So if your doctor asks you for your social security number, don't fill it out. If there are random places, mom and pop joints, they want your social security number. I guess presumably track you down for collections if you bail on them, but you don't have to give it to them. You don't have to give them your business if they demand it either.
I want to become a mountain man.
You're gonna be
feed my dog rocks.
Go to the Ozarks and trade your dog
You're
rocks.
gonna be an old man with light switches while the rest of us have smart lights that don't need switches anymore.
My daughter loves light switches.
Like seeing you operate it or doing it herself?
She likes doing it herself.
I bet.
I imagine at that age it's like magic.
Yeah, it's like her favorite thing.
Yeah.
Everything's like magic.
How's your electric bill going?
It's fine.
She turns them off.
Lights are so cheap.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not. My wife just leaves them on all day anyway, so.
CFLs and LEDs.
I've become that man where I wander through my house flipping lights off.
Oh, I do that.
Yeah.
I don't even live in a house. I have an apartment.
Yeah.
Well, that does it for the long form discussions. But I just did want to give a brief, shout out, mention of some VR news that came up this week, virtual reality. It's starting to become quite full of random tidbits lately. So
we're gonna have to start up. We have IGN/tech. We're gonna have IGN/VR.
At some point, maybe. I mean, next year, I think we're going to start seeing at least a good handful of things on the market for consumers, or even not consumers, at least more dev kits. The first bit of news, just that Project Morpheus, which is Sony's VR headset, is supposedly going to launch within the next 12 months.
Oh, wow.
So
that's cool.
by this time next year, we could see something from them.
Didn't they also announce something? Maybe you're about to get to this, but announce that Sony's starting their own development studio specifically for Morpheus? Did I read that headline?
If that is a headline, I've missed it.
I could have just made that up.
There's rumors that
There's a chance.
Sony is going to have a very, very large VR presence at E3. We'll see.
Seems plausible.
We'll see.
It's a hard thing to communicate to everyone that doesn't have the headset on, though.
Potentially.
Sure is.
I mean, I feel like it's big enough news the last couple of years and getting bigger with more and more players kind of jumping into it that they're in a good position to get out ahead of,
Yeah, but
even
E3's
Oculus.
E3 is only half about less than half about the people that are at the show. It's about
Sure.
everybody streaming it on their console and catching up on the news on places like IGN. And so that's a real problem for VR.
It's very difficult. I mean, one of the most common comments that we get when we do VR coverage is that we're not showing what we saw. But a lot of times, direct capture is not available, or it's just difficult to convey otherwise. So you just get pictures of all of us schmoes here with
It was
big
so
old visors.
cool.
Yeah.
Look how cool VR is.
Yeah. As Mark Ryan, for those who are not watching, Mark
That's
Ryan
right.
sits back and
I
looks
sat-
up at the ceiling
Right. That's what it looks like when someone else is using VR.
with a big old thing strapped to their face.
Have you seen the pictures of Newt Gingrich trying it?
No,
It's pretty cool. You should Google that.
I will after we're done.
Newt Gingrich Oculus Rift.
Razer announced that they have more partners for their OS VR platform, and so now they support Valve's OpenVR SDK. So it'll be interesting to see if open source takes off. It's always really interesting to see how many more partners Razer's been getting for their particular platform. And then the last bit of news is that Oculus noted very politely, it was very neutral, like the Switzerland of comments, where they said that they would not be forbidding adult content on their
They're not going to
hardware.
control what software is
Exactly.
on there.
So, of course, everybody's headline was, "You can get porn."
Porn is A-okay with Oculus.
It's kind of, well, if you're a consenting adult to whatever you're watching, then I think that's kind of how they see it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there is some legitimacy to the thought that like that could be a driving factor in the adoption.
No,
of
absolutely, yes.
VR.
I mean, there aren't competing VR standards right now, just competing VR headsets. But it's always been the case that whatever media standard the porn industry got behind ended up winning. Porn got behind Blu-ray, porn got behind VHS.
Porn got behind the internet, and look at that thing.
Pornography was a driver of internet technology and, increase in data speeds and storage and just the sophistication of the web and, customer lead generation funnels and stuff like that. Like, it was absolutely on the cutting edge of all of that stuff. And it will be for porn too.
Not in the App Store,
I
though.
meant to say for VR too.
Porn 2, Porn 2.0. Is that what we're
Porn
coming
is
to?
The
important for
sequel
porn
to
too.
porn. Porn
It's finally
2.
here, you guys.
That's a great marketing angle.
On that note, well, thank you to everyone who's joined us. As always, if you have questions or comments, you can reach us at techfetish@ign.com. We're also on the Facebook group and Google Plus groups. We have some great people there, and we drop in. We monitor the different awesome conversations that come up
Just don't upload any pictures with red.
on Facebook, at least. Google
Yes.
Plus, you're fine.
Right.
You don't have that same compression issue. And then, of course, you can reach us individually on Twitter. I am at MorphingBall.
I am at Error Justin.
Alex L. Roth.
I am at MRSALLEE.
Ooh, we spelled it out this time. I like how you mix it up every week.
I forget sometimes. I have to remind myself.
Keeps it interesting.
Who am I?
Anyway, well, we will catch you guys next week, right after the Google I/O keynote, so expect more news out of that. For now, we are done. We'll catch you guys next week.